Hi there, welcome to this session on performance management in Agile organizations. My name is Vibhu, and I'm going to be talking today about something that happens every once or twice a year in most companies, where employees and management, everybody gets busy, and we cannot go through this fairly stressful process called performance management. So, how does it work in Agile organizations? How can we make it better, and what are some things that we can think about? That's kind of what we are going to look into this session. My name is Vibhu Srinivasan. I am the founder of Agilis, and we are an organization that is focused on helping organizations unlearn Agile. So, a lot of the companies have implemented a lot of the Agile practices, and today are struggling because of all the things they have kind of built, and now they have to undo a lot of that mess. So, that's kind of where we come to play. So let's start, right? So the in most organizations we celebrate teams, and I can't think of a company where there's no teamwork, and there's a lot of values and principles around agile teamwork and this kind of together we can mentality, right? At the same time, the traditional definition of project management is still around, what we call as performance management. Sorry, is around um, helping people get better, give them rewards and make them high performers. And a lot of the performance management techniques, even today, celebrate what we call as individual behaviors. So during performance management season, that happens. There's often someone who gets promoted, someone who doesn't. Some people get more money, some don't, right? And there's really not a whole. There's some amount of rigor and logic to a lot of this, which is supposed to be there, but employees in the end tend to get really upset and sometimes fairly dejected by going through this process, and the morale goes down and people leave, right? So how do we and in order to kind of understand this, we have to understand how in general organizations are structured, and how every leader can create an organizational unit which can be either collaborative or not. So in a one of the books I love to talk about is this thing called Reengineering Alternative by William Schneider. In that he presents the four models, that culture models of how we celebrate success in this group or in this organization, and every leader can build his or her organization around these kind of four cultural constructs. So collaboration culture, where we succeed by working together. Control culture, where we succeed by keeping control, right? Everything is under control, lots of rules and regulations exist. Cultivation culture, where we succeed by growing people who fulfill our vision. So here, it's all about, like, my way. You have, as long as you agree to my ways of working, this is a great place to be, right? And then finally, there's competence culture, more like universities and uh, um, academic organizations, where we succeed by the being the best, and which we call as competence culture, where achievement is celebrated. So a lot of the management or salary kind of things today are tied a lot towards a competence culture. Means we celebrate, people who achieve a lot. We celebrate certifications, or there's a certain amount of like celebration of achievements, right? Which we need to do. At the same time, if our organization doesn't celebrate collaboration, then how do we actually build teamwork? So it's kind of a so we really need to rethink how we are structuring organizational performance management. And some of the things that starts a lot is around knowing where your organizational culture is. This is kind of a lot of the work we do, is try to help you understand where you are or your group is in this organizational construct. And when we work on most organizations, we'll find more of a spiderweb kind of a notion when we run the surveys or studies, and where not every group has got some amount of collaboration, some cultivation, a lot of control, and a lot of organizational aspects are around the whole competence culture, right? So what we want to do is turn it around and make sure we get more towards a collaborative organization. So typically what will end up happening is, we not every group does it, but back in the days we used to do this thing called stack ranking, where we'll rank people based on certain skills, or and then we go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And then when things go wrong, we end up kind of cutting away some of our bottom performing people. Oftentimes, sadly, we call them as resources, and that kind of brings this whole tension around organizations and people, and whenever somebody says I'm doing performance management, people get stressed out, right? So how do we change some of those thinking? Some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is fairly basic. So the first one is separating your feedback mechanisms from performance management. Everybody needs feedback, it's given. All of us need feedback, but at the moment we tie that to the performance management, then it becomes more of a process, and people are afraid of it, and receiving and giving feedback becomes less, it's just more of a lip service rather than actually doing it. So separate them out, make sure they're not the same thing, and then include some element of 360-degree feedback, where I've created groups where we can pick who we want feedback from, and both up and down side, and both sides, up and down, all around, right? So many organizations collect this feedback, but then the feedback is also directly tied with their performance management, right? So make sure this feedback is a continuous process. So throughout the year, it's ongoing, on demand, right? There's not like it has to happen only around certain seasons. It's happening all the time. So encourage people to have those conversations. And team feedback, and so if you're doing agile, scrum retrospectives are a team feedback, right? So include, we always do something called a team 360, where an agile team gives each other feedback openly in the retrospective. So creating a culture like that, absolutely brings the best in people, right? So lastly, when it comes to monetary compensations, hikes, promotions, those kind of things, obviously there is an element of individual. I mean, most of us work in organizations because we are known for certain kinds of skills, but I also encourage you to look at team, coming up with KPIs that help team level compensation. So we can look at goals and KPIs for teams and give teams problems to solve, and then if those problems to solve can be measured with KPIs and OKRs, which is fantastic to set up, which is kind of one of the things we help do. And then you can actually create a team where you can, what you do in the team matters, because now I don't only work because my performance is tied to my team success as well. So those are the kinds of things I would encourage, and there's a lot more to this topic. I just wanted to open the topic, and next time we'll focus more on how do you actually structure these incentives. Thank you again, and thanks for your time.